Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and it is Monday, September the 17th, 2018, and I'm with my gal pals, my posse, Lisa Flamino Rush and BZ Rieger, and we are coming at you from North Carolina on my end, and BZ's on the opposite end of the country. And I just had to throw that bit about being in North Carolina in there, I guess.
Which is hard to do since you're kind of in the middle of the country, so the opposite end, what is that?
Well, I guess I'm kind of in the middle of the country, but I always, okay, we're on different coasts. So we got the whole country in between us as well.
As opposed to not up in Nook country up here.
Right, that's right. That's right. But I had to throw in the North Carolina piece because of, all the flooding. We're still here. All the reports of mayhem in North Carolina, which I'm sure I know that there's going to be flooding. I've said that many times and all that, but
no mayhem at your house?
Yeah, no flooding at my house. And we had worse flooding here over the summer.
Yes, we did.
I saw the folks from across the street out in the middle of my street with plywood trying to stem the tide from all the water that was going over in their yard. This happened back in June.
Yeah.
We did not have that this go round. There was a lot of rain. We got a lot of rain, about at least an on and off 24-hour period. Mm-hmm. And so it was at least one full day, and but it was also very sporadic. So could it be whatever? I mean, listen, I also, on the way to the dentist today, I said to myself, well, one of two things happened. Either Lisa and I created an area where it just didn't affect us, which, hey, I'm thrilled if that's the case, or something else took place. I just don't know. But, we lost power for a total of 12 hours, and we could see immediately as to why it was. A rotten limb fell on my neighbor's power line and pulled it down into his yard. Mm-hmm. And within 12 hours, we had no less than, I counted and I have a picture, 6 electric cherry picking trucks here. And they replaced the little transformer that was there. It was pouring down rain. But I have to tell you, I know the neighbors were a little bit fatootsed with me because I was out there hooping and hollering and thanking them, and my voice carries. Lisa was sitting in front of me. Well, I could tell that they couldn't hear me. And so, but when the power came on in the house, I went outside, and Lisa was not out there then. And I let it go. And I thanked those fellas. And I couldn't tell for sure if they heard me or not. But I made damn sure that if there was any way possible, they would. And they did, because as they left, they blew the horn as they passed the house. So it was a really cool experience for me on that score. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't, it was really only because a very large limb had come down on the power line, and it knocked out 51 people power, which was right around us right here, just very localized. So
yeah, that's probably where they had spots like that, all over.
Right. Yep. And I'm sure it added up, as far as the total that they were counting. But for craps, one of them I saw said there was 500 million without power in North Carolina. I was like, wow, that's a lot.
Are there that many people in North Carolina?
No. I had to go check.
I don't even think in the United States there's that many. I'm not sure.
There's only 300 million in the United States.
Well, there you go.
And as of 2015, according to Google, there was only 10.
Oh yeah, you want to go that reliable source, right?
Well, they're supposed to know everything, so they say. But even according to them, there was only 37, something like that, million in North Carolina. It's just the fun behind all of this. There was like so much fun on Facebook over this storm, for me anyway.
Well, yeah, there's lots of skits. I don't know that I saw any on Facebook. There where people had made videos, they're reporting the severity of the storm, and the camera pans to the right and the left, and everybody's, eating donuts and laughing while they squirt this guy with a big hose.
Yes, well, you know why they did that, right, BC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I loved it. That was so awesome. So anyway, that was kind of just a real catch up to you about what took place for us here. Well, we're going to do what will essentially be a part 2 of one of our videos we did before about what's coming next. Are you playing with Keegan?
He saw a toy behind the computer because I moved stuff, and so this little raccoon, which is stuff free. There you go.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
That's adorbs. So we're going to talk about playing in the space of crumbling, I guess, really, because that's really what's happening right now.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, the smoke from the rubble is choking us, right? Well, some of us anyway. So what's new and what's next? And that's what we're going to talk about. What's new and what's next. We don't really, are we going into the crumbling space? Is that where you want to go? Or are we going to go just straight to what's new and what's next?
Well, we got crumbling going right now. I'm kind of the ripping sort. We could, maybe set a scene set where you envision you're standing on the street, and there's rubble all around, and the smoke is fresh air, new breeze, there's something in the wind, all those kind of visualistic metaphors come through, and as you go like that, the smoke is clearing, and because there's something very powerful, actually, about what I just said is where there is that knowing and kind of looking around and immersing in the fact that it's come down and it's all around you. Because it's happening right this moment at quite a fast clip.
Yeah, I feel that. We were talking a bit on off camera before we began this, and some of what I feel like has been going on and behind this storm has a lot to do with all of that as well.
Right.
Yeah, I've been feeling that, and I think that's going to come out a little bit more here pretty soon too.
Yeah, and also kind of what popped in is that what people may be thinking of as delays or postponements or putting off or kind of what do you call it? Jockeying for position, or the best light, the best spin, or
Right.
and again, when I'm speaking of this, the rubble is of all different shapes, sizes, colors, structures, metaphors, actual fact, and it's you could say that the rubble is, well, it's rumbling. The rubble is stuff that's out there, but remember how out there gets out there, and
Right.
we create it there. So there can be so look at it of the we, each individual of the we would be your individual realities, your individual constructs of what you've put out there, and then there are different collectives that have come together in their creation of realities and put collective constructs up there, and then there is the largest, well, maybe it's not largest, but quite a inclusive collective that could be described maybe as the human collective, on that. So anyways, it's helpful. I think it's helpful. It's helpful to see what's next, how do we do it, if we can scene set ourselves in that crumbling down.
Part of the one of the things that has offered for me the being able to when I'm not getting this out right, I know I'm not. Okay, so let me just back that up a second. I feel things on such different levels now than I did before. And so what I mean by that, and it's like the multidimensionality truth for me of who I am. When you said about how when we see that out there, it's very clear. What came in for me on that is that it's very clear for me to see and feel the portions of the out there that are crumbling, because there's crumbling that has taken place for these false constructs within me. That's why I feel as though I have been saying for a while now that all is metaphor. It's like it's almost like it's a coinciding, it goes hand in hand kind of thing. Feels like the more I just open up to receive all kinds of data. I was saying to you earlier that I really comprehend, I grok the reasoning behind using the term data now, because information that's informing me as a singular portion of source comes in everything, in every moment of everything. It's a matter of my tuning into it
Yeah.
and getting out of my own effing way sometimes, because there's that too.
That's real.
Right. So I wanted to share that when you said that, BZ, that's what it evoked for me. I see that there are some maybe who say, well, I don't see what you're talking about. I don't see this crumbling you're talking about. There's no smoke. What are you talking about? And right. So, because I felt into that when BZ was saying that.
Mm.
Some folks can very clearly see that the handwriting is on the wall. It's a done deal. It's just a matter of, and others can't. So I don't know if I'm being very clear.
Well, then let's play with that for a moment, because a common foundational reference point, if you're thinking about what's new and what's next, is often predicated upon what was there before, what your experience, what your experiences have been, what, there before. Now, a lot of people will say, well, good, done with that, something new, what's next? And it's, a completely different thing, because they want what's new and what's next, and, and that's our natural way to play. That's the truth of who we are in that, what's new, what's next. Well, I'm going to I'm going to go build a quasar now. And people might go, what are you talking about? And what is a quasar anyway?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. What's a quasar?
But I don't say that in jest. Let's actually say that in all seriousness, because that's who we are. That's what we do. We go around the multiverses and play with, create, and experience. Oftentimes create the experience and then go play in the experience. And that's how we do these different things. So now, obviously, I've gone to a very wide aperture with that. So to bring it in a little more linear, what's new, what's next? Looking around. So you said, Sheila, that you're hearing at least one being saying, well, I don't see. So was it like they're just thinking it's the same old shit, nothing ever changes? Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, I don't see this rubble that you're talking about. I don't see anything crumbling. Nothing has crumbled yet. I don't smell that smoke you're talking about. I don't see anything has changed.
Mm. Well, I think this hurricane revealed a lot. Just with that one thing that we started the conversation with, you could see so many ways that people, I think, are now waking up to that crumbling. And I know it feels like nothing's really changed, but really everything has, if you feel your way into it. Because maybe on the surface things are still looking quite similar, or maybe we got the same old going on in one way. In another way, to me, just from my own personal experience here, nothing feels the same to me. Absolutely nothing on any level feels the same. The storm brought out the different ways that I think people were noticing that what they're feeling and what they're experiencing when they look around is very incongruent to the message that is being hammered at us from every direction at this moment of now. So to me, that's evidence of the rumble. Watching people stand up and make fun of the reality that we've all accepted as the truth. In my opinion, I've just seen people, you know, where I lived last, we have not huge winters, but sometimes they can be, and it'll overwhelm the area, and it's a big deal. And I kind of have watched that, like with the storms, they've really started to be so dramatic. And it used to be that when they were on all day, it was for a reason, you know, and I was glued to it because, you know, I'm just thinking years in the past, I really needed weather information and where to be and all of that. But now it doesn't seem to be about the weather anymore. It's more about how excited can we get everybody? How much money can we get everybody to run right out and spend in a big hurry, a big panic? How much traffic can we get? How riled up can we get everyone? And it's kind of funny now to watch people not take the bait, if you will, so much.
Yeah.
Anymore.
How many prescriptions can we sell for anxiety, Zantac?
Right.
Right. Yeah, because it's all hidden in plain sight. So that may be one answer to see the rumbling. It's right there.
Yeah.
And part of your ability to begin to decode it, that you see that it's gone. One thing I was going to ask, that's why I turned here to look up. I looked up the date, because this struck me as a big, even for those who may not have been noticing a lot of stuff. What was the date of Anton Scalias' death? And some will immediately get why I phrase it just that way, and some would go, what? Well, she's got a cough, frog in her throat? Well, no, not really. Anyways, so people, and because that's a really, for me, was a really obvious one, even for people who were really sound asleep, to notice that. Have you ever noticed in all of your time, if you're in the United States or any other country, and when you think about politics or this, that, and the other, that a Supreme Court justice and the top SCOTUS guy, right, you know, the supreme of the supremes, dies. There's no investigation. There's no wall-to-wall media coverage. There's no wall-to-wall hearings and this and that and the other thing on the specificity in particular of exactly what happened and why. And it's all swept under the rug. And a sitting president doesn't go to the Supreme, now not because of the man, but because of the institution of Supreme. You know, so there was one right after the other of all of those. It's never happened before, and I thought, you know, this is so fascinating because you can't not see how the script has totally changed.
Yeah.
And you cannot not see how deeply enthralled people are who are not seeing it, because it's like they just slipped and changed the script on them. And, you know, so that was a real demarcation. There have been others before that, but that one was a real demarcation. And of how, well, actually, that's interesting. Okay, I agree with that. Okay, so I was going to say that was a real demarcation of how that hidden in plain sight was wavering and exposing itself. But it was also because there was a lot of stuff. I'm pretty sure I pointed some of it out with dots on the IEV back then, but maybe go back if you feel like playing with it. Not to the IUV per se, although that's fine, but but around that time, what was going on, because there were large pulses of targeting and triggering and protective sheeting on your programming that were pulsed out to the world, not only the United States, but the world, for that to really amp up that thrall, where you're in that trance.
Right.
And so what I said as I was thinking about that, asking me to add into that, was that was part of, because you're looking at the timing and the dates, and of course now we know why the timing and so on and so forth, but what that added to that absolute illusion of certainty that we would not have the current sitting president that we do. That was the precursor. That was the ramp up to the elections, but was also the ramp up to the what was seen as the clinching of what's going on. So that's just an example of crumbling down. So that was one big example of how things have changed, because either you don't notice that there was anything odd about that, or you really notice that there was a lot odd about that.
Right.
And it's just one of millions of indicators, large and small, and every size in between, of just how okay, well, that's interesting. It may be, it's kind of like, again, there's talk of the separation of the worlds and stuff, but it's separation of those energetic frequencies where kind of the dumbed down or the on autopilot and not being able to, not noticing, not seeing, not being able to break out of it, and flowing on that. And there was a very big divergence. So an awful lot of beings woke up with that, because it was so, even if you were a dyed-in-the-wool Obama fan and everything else, you'd go, hang on a minute, something's really weird with this. I mean,
well, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they also skipped the autopsy with him?
That's what I mean. That was the first part. So that's never doesn't occur.
Yeah, I know. That's why
people it doesn't occur, but it sure as hell doesn't occur with SCOTUS and the Supreme.
Right. Exactly.
On private property, yeah, no, not so much.
Yeah. No, see that. No, exactly. Now, I was not aware that was a large pulse. Of course, I was already. I mean, I knew it. I guess I kind of felt into it because of the whole. I don't have a clue as to what they normally do for a SCOTUS. I feel into what you're saying, and that makes sense. The whole thing for me was.
Well, normally for an unattended death, there's an investigation.
And there's an autopsy.
Right.
I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, just little old lady down the street. It's got to happen, right?
Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, it was. So let me paint, since we're talking about painting pictures, then this is cool that you brought up. So you brought, because lots of people have seen them and it's easy to Google it, right? The videos about making fun of the storm coverage of the hurricane, right? Okay. So it's that blatant. It's actually that noticeable and that blatant to have the supreme of the supremes, right?
Right.
Unattended death, and no inquisition into it, no look into it, no autopsy, no nothing.
And immediate cremation, I think, too, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We got to get rid of the evidence right quick, right? But, I mean, that's exactly the same in a very comical way of the skit with, everybody shooting the different people doing their live, setup about the storm
Right.
and everything. And then the camera pulls back and everybody's having beer and they're joking about, no angle the hose, no, turn that fan.
Well, I'm glad that we brought this up actually, BZ, because here's the thing that I also noticed, and that is that there's a lot of beings out there that, yes, had they been paying attention to what happened when that happened with Scalia, they would have caught it. But there's an awful lot of beings out there that they got no idea who Scalia was. They're not paying attention to that portion of anything.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
so it just kind of went like this. And so, but I see where you're going with that pulse. So there's been many others.
Oh yes,
then.
absolutely. But that just was because at that level, even if you're not paying attention, it's you have heard of the Supreme Court,
Right?
No,
yes,
I'm talking more of the institution and where it lays and how it ties in, because well, there's Roe v. Wade, all sorts of things play into it. So you could be in whatever tunnel vision you're in, but that was at the level, right? So what I'm using that to illustrate is that was also showing you the level of the pulse,
right,
from the service to self energetic construct that came forth. So it was that. So think more of the institution and where it lays in the whole scope of the setup.
The crumbling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Because again, that's so that would be in what structure would that fall under? And that would fall under supposedly the judicial system,
right?
Which really is just a what do you call it?
Dog and pony show.
Oh. No, I was going to be a little bit more specific than that. That would be an arm of the whole system, which is the banking system.
Right.
So that's all that it is. It's just a subsidiary of, and it's also it has offshoots from that, subsidiaries of that bring in product, all that kind of stuff. So some people know exactly what I'm talking about, and some people are going, what are you talking about? That's a whole nother.
Yes, because that ties into a lot of other things that that in this moment of now, I can't pretend to totally comprehend, but I know enough about it to
Well, the reason let me back up for a moment. The reason that I brought that up is to answer the question. Some people say, well, I don't see, the dust. I don't see the smoke. I don't see, nothing's changed. And that pulse is a good landmark to go back to. Because if you didn't see that, didn't have some awareness of that, and again, I don't mean, diving into this, but that really truly was a seminal moment of a markation, a demarcation. Not to investigate the scopes, but that you didn't notice why is nobody talking about the fact that there's not even a local, old sawbones there. Nobody's, and then he got cremated, and so And then there were other things that came out in a whole row, and I thought it was pretty funny. I thought, well, clearly lots of people did and lots of people didn't, and the pulse worked on an awful lot of lots of people, and in fact it had the absolute opposite of the intended consequences. So in other words, it pulsed,
Right.
and it zinged, and it zinged a lot of people to go, and it pulsed and it zinged, hoping to get those to snooze all over there, and they went, whoa, you know.
Good morning.
So it had and it's been building since then, you know. So
Right.
what I'm saying is, when you look around, if you truly are honest with yourself, and you're looking around, you're saying and feeling into that nothing has changed, nothing is different, then it might be a fun exercise to play with, kind of looking at the shielding on the coding of the programming that is embedded within you. Because
Now your microphone just went away. So you said it might be fun to look at the shielding.
right, to play with the program, the shielding on the coding of the programming that's within you.
Right.
Because there are huge changes going on within you, provided you haven't jumped off the planet. If you haven't jumped off the planet, then there are huge changes that are going on within your physical bodies, all of the bodies. So mental, emotional, physical, electromagnetic, all of
I don't know what's happening, but I'm losing your mic even more. So let us try again.
So, anyways, it would behoove you to play with it and look into it, because things have drastically changed, dramatically changed, demonstrably changed in all sorts of ways.
Yeah, I haven't put it out yet, but I did a video this morning. I was nudged to talk about how we hold things, and I'm feeling or seeing right now where it kind of plays into what you're saying here. Yes, it has. And the things that it has, a lot has changed already. And a lot of things are about to change again. And I even said, and I really feel this for myself, to put any kind of attachment on any of those changes as they come up. There's a lot of us, I feel like, even those of us that have been doing this a long time, we might hold something is going to look a certain way or feel a certain way or do a certain thing or whatever. I feel like all of that is all of that is up for change. All of it, even what we think we might expect to see or whatever. It feels like the looser we hold something or attach something, the better off we're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
That's why I say if we behold what it wants to show us, we're a lot better off, because then we haven't limited any of the possibilities or the potentialities. And since it's quantum and we're multidimensional, it can behold this and 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 so on, and we get it all. Or we could just say nothing's changed. I didn't get this. I don't know what the hell's the matter with you people, but I want this. I didn't get it.
Right. No, that's correct. I feel like that's exactly I think that's why I'm feeling like feeling that is important to share. Um, yes, everything is changing, and it is all and because of the multidimensionality portions of it, and um, and I didn't think about it in words the way you just put that, BZ, but you're right. If I attach anything to it, then it can't unfold to what it actually. Well, I've been feeling like just allowing things to be revealed to me and within me, and that's been so
It is. It's relationship. We are in relationship, and it's reciprocal. And you know, I remember playing. I was a nanny for most of my working life, and so I played with a lot of kids. And I remember one time being told we were playing pretend. We're in the little kitchen, and I was being given my lines. And I said, no, no, no. You say your part, and I get to choose my part. See? Because that's what real relationship is. You get to choose what you will share, and I get to choose what I will share. And it's pretty presumptuous of us to assume what another has to offer or to share, really. And I mean, I'm looking at that in terms of everything now, not just all the people in my life, but actually my car. I've been in great relationship with my vehicle. My home, I'm in relationship with my home. I'm in relationship with the air that I breathe. And so holding it in that fashion makes it really easy not to be attached to anything, because it's all about the joy of discovering what's in front of me, who and what is in front of me. Yeah, it's more fun.
And you just gave a beautiful illustration because, it was about 10 people who yelled, hey, wait a minute. So no, that's cool. Because there's challenge. There's a lot of challenge in, I'm not characterizing it myself that way, but there was a lot of challenge in what you brought forward.
Okay.
For those who, are not seeing anything changing yet. So, you said that everybody has, you get your dialogue and I'll choose mine. And I'm in relationship with all these other things. And you mentioned some that were beings, people, some that were entities. Well, they're all actually, we'll come to find that it's all energy. So there's consciousness in all of that.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned, which is where the shouting really started, that I don't need to be attached to it, and what will come will come. And so kind of just an amalgamation I'll make of the queries that came forth is, well, how can I count on it? How do I know that I get mine? Well, that sounds to me like this or something better, and how do I know I'm going to get better, or what I've got coming to me. So all of that, first, it was all very small. It's not a judgment; it just is. It's because it's what we've been taught and trained to do.
Yeah.
And okay, I was resisting going with this. That was just given a live experience, a live example metaphor. But since I just get yelled at to do it anyways, for whatever it's worth, I'm going to share it. So
here goes.
As an example, part of what I do is I take care of another animal being. and or many others, but one in particular comes to mind in this example, and was used to having to always kind of fight in and get his share, and not being able to count on the fact that that was it. So whether it was vying for other humans or other kinds of animals or events, whatever going on. And since I've been here, which has been a while, this being has come to realize the exact opposite of the way that he'd been living his life for years and years and years. And so much to the fact now, when there are goodies or something going on or something that might be a fun, fun time's about to happen or whatever, like the other animal beings around, doesn't even get up. If they're up already and they're playing, okay, great. But if they're kind of snoozing and hear all this, they don't have to worry about it. Because not only do they know that all of that abundance will flow and they don't have to vie for it, but it comes in so many different unexpected ways because they hold it that way. So that's a really great metaphor and realistic example of the same for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
When we're kind of holding it or jonesing for something, or all these different things, there's a physical grip that we have on it, but there's also an energetic, there's an expectational grip. And Sheila talks about her boxes. Well, we've put that in a box, and many of us have put like a steel lined structured box that's really pretty rigid and not going to let anything else come in. And the irony from a linear perspective is that we're actually keeping far better than we had pictured it, because we didn't have a lot of wherewithal or vision, let's say, to picture something outside of the box. And there's just a little, crumble of cheese in the box.
Well, there's a lot of I can really see it now, being on the other side of some of this, where there's been such great, and as far as I'm concerned, we did it to ourselves over a long period of time. But there's all of the programming and conditioning that we've served up to each other after a period of time. Now it's just well, it's always been done that way, so we just keep doing it, that kind of thing. So that the imagination that has been, either beat out of you or, somehow or another, oh no, that's for children. That's not for now. That's not for you. It's not how it actually works. All of that. It's all gone into that portion of us that went as far out as we could, right? That's part of that. And I don't know, there was something in that for me where you were speaking, and I just, all of a sudden, what came flooding in for me was the true metaphor behind unfettered access. And I got so dizzy, and now I can't hardly even
we're the fetterers.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's okay, so what came in for me in regards to that was that what that term is being held as actually by some feels like a box to me at this point. And I know that there's going to be folks out there that are like, oh, well, I'll take that box. Okay, well, that's cool. And I'm not saying, I'm just, for some reason, the way that it's being held, I don't hold it that way because I'm not holding it as what it's representing. I don't know if I'm being very clear about that. I don't know. I just feel the metaphor behind it, and sometimes the way that I have encountered that whole thing being held feels like a self-imposed box of some sort. You know what I mean? Even at that. So that's why I'm glad we're talking about.
Well, let's play with this. So let's see, a couple things jumped out. And one at a time would be helpful, or maybe twos. So, just saying. Okay, so in steps. So you to play a little bit more with the unfettered access for a moment. So you could look at the various different programs out there, RVs out there, this, that, and the other thing. You could Swiss Indo. Okay, if you did that, you got X a month, and maximum of this a year, and over this amount of time, and you could go, cool, as you said. Well, that's okay, good on you, Sheila. You stand over there and be jaded, and I'll take that box. Okay, then you could, in the perusing of the catalog of the same girls with the different party dresses, to flip to another party dress. And then you've got one where you got NDAs and different things, and then you get X amount in a cash thing, and if you can conjure up and jump through X hoops, you get more of a thing, and this, that, and the other thing. And so just take those two, and then you can see where the unfettered comes in. Because when you were with the first example, you were going, well, you're stupid. I'm taking that box because my box is so small compared to that box, but that's a cat's meows box. And I want that box, and I don't give a hang that it's a box and it's limited, because I'm pretty limited right now. I ain't got nothing, and that box has it all.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, some dude just showed me the chick here in the new party dress, and that was better than that, and now I'm going, but I want that. So I'm kind of playing, but I'm kind of being serious in the fact that that's where we start to see the realization that there are huge boxes. We're fettering ourselves because we're all complicit, and on a lot of these things we're actually indirectly and directly at the cause of it. And so you could flip through more parties, but have you noticed that one of the themes is that since they haven't come to fruition, because it's actually all been, you could say dematerialized, you could say bring to a halt, you could say foreclosed them. There's lots of different words that you could use for the same kind of a thing, and pick one, see what resonates with you. Or kind of gets the picture painted, but they haven't come to fruition. So that's why the catalog of party dresses has to have more sheafs in the catalog, more pages in the catalog, because the shiny prize was shiny, worked for a bit, but an awful lot of people didn't jump on it like they thought.
Right.
And what's the matter with these dumbasses? I mean, we have made it, so they have got nothing. But that's part of seeing the smoke, right? That's part of the rubble coming down. So it's been happening for, oh, wait a minute. It's been happening in big demarcation since 2012. Other dates kind of correspond with that, you know? So, and you realize that as you pull a little further back, you can see that you can see the box. That's one of the biggest things to see is the box. And so now someone just said, okay, well, I'm getting that, but I don't understand what this has to do with the what's new and why we need this as a foundation. Because the smoke and the rubble imploding is one of the rays of beautifulness of the what's new. Because as you can notice that, you know, dust in the air, then you can see it for the crumbling of your boxes. To continue that metaphor. You know, maybe it's streamers of cardboard because you had super heavy duty cardboard, or it's you know, sparks flying from the titanium that just melted on the box that you had, because we all have different boxes, different construction, and some of the strongest boxes. So this is what just happens to me. Some of the strongest boxes are those that are completely transparent. You can see all the things. There's, you know, like they have the new windows now that there can be, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50 or more the width of a room. And you can pull the window. There is no seams in the glass. There's no windows. It's not a French door kind of a thing, or a big ass French door, you know, which used to let a lot of light in, because there's nothing there and you can just move it back. Well, a lot of beings have boxes that are like that, and it's unobstructed view and seeming. Unless you deign to get close enough or look careful enough, you bonk your nose on it, you know, and you can see it. Or another way to look at it is the vibrations are such, and the sun, a lot of cool stuff about the sun, and the sun, the structure of the light that is beaming down from the sun has changed. It hits your transparent box, your, you know, unobstructed view of the glass in a different way, and you go, what is that? You know, because it has just a little shadow or just a little play of light or something. And that's why metaphor can be helpful. Well, first of all, everything is metaphor, because how we play with things is so much vaster than from our linear, you know, thinking mind can look at it, that it's not only a tool, but it's the reality of language, because it's the closest that we've got to come close to what we're really used to playing with. So anyways, that's looking at where we are now and realizing the crumbling, and things are changing, because they're changing on every aspect, on every level. So let me rattle off some of it. So inside of your body, every organ, every fiber, every cell, every atom, every organ, every rhythm, every nuance, everything within your body, physical body. So your emotional body, all of that, all of the placing of that, the mental body, all the way that anybody forgetting things a lot lately? anybody, walk into a room, and sure, a lot of people don't. They forgot what I came in here for, except it's every room, outside the room, in the office, not in the office, on the street corner, into this, on the telephone. It's happening all the time. And no, it's not mass Alzheimer's. So, but that's what I'm saying. So when someone says, well, I don't notice that until you break it down like that in a playful way, and you go, okay, yeah, I noticed that. Or time, speeding up, slowing down, disappearing altogether, right? Yeah. So all of these things. So again, part of the blinders that we have on, you could say it goes back to the metaphor of the box, but what it is we're fixated on this. It's not even the size of the head of a pin, because that's actually pretty large compared to the point that we're fixated on and attached to. That it's like this lump of coal screening shield that's blocking our view of anything else. Because all we know is we want this and we ain't got it yet. And so that's, it's like right up in our eyes and our perception, and it gets blocking. Remember how I said, your perspective of something, and if I go like this, oh my God, Sheila and Lisa, they just dematerialized, and so again, that's a metaphor, but it's very accurate for the way that we're holding something, and to the exclusion of everything else. So in noticing that, and again, this is just for each one's own self. There's nothing to do with anything else out there. Going back to that caveat, if you haven't jumped off the planet yet, these things that we've all just used metaphor to paint a word picture, an illustration of what's going on. To see and notice what's going on, to be completely honest and play with, because it'll be a very rewarding on so many levels, and you could put financial in there too if you wanted to, linearize it, to play with this, because it used to be called, now it's Brinks or something, but it used to be called, what was the armored truck that came up that?
Oh gosh, there's Brinks, there's
yeah, but what was the one that used to be?
Pinkertons, there was Loomis Fargo, there's,
the one that's always in the, like it was in a, whatever, it doesn't matter. Brinks, I'll use Brinks. So, I don't know why, but something about the name of that company is playing into the metaphor. But anyways,
okay.
You could have the truck we're talking about is the one that carries the gold, supposedly, from, bank to bank, and this, that, and the other. You could, someone next to you, right, literally right next to you, could have their truck of gold drive up. And you'll never notice it. You'll never see it. You'll never experience it. You'll never partake in it. It won't even come in your realm to be jealous or pissed off that the person right next to you got their truck of gold and you didn't, because these things are blinding you. So you could use, maybe gold doesn't turn you on, so it's something else, the ability to do something, or wow, that opportunity that you want, or that shift in your whole worldview that you want, will not present itself to you, because you will not be able to see it if you can't see and notice the dust that's all around of all of these things imploding. And again, that's That's literal and metaphoric as well. Because since you haven't jumped off the planet, that's a frequency vibration. So it's a range of vibratory, visible light would be one way, visible knowing. So there's lots of different ways to hold that. And you've actually locked yourself, you could say, outside of all the rest, or within your box that is impenetrable. Okay, well, that's not accurate, luckily, but seemingly impenetrable from the frequencies that are coming in. So your road, maybe your road home, or your homing signal, your beacon that's coming in. Of course, the beacon, that's the beauty of it. In the box, the beacon is with you. It's within you. It's an inside job. So this harkens back to, was this part 1, maybe? Where an inside job was punitive. So now here's another way to look at that. Thank God it's an inside job, because I'm in the box and my homing beacon is in me and it's with me in the box. So not only is it not punitive, it's spectacular that I got it all right here, because I'm not missing anything.
Right. But that's the point right there for me in all of that, is that is all in how you hold it.
It is.
That portion. Because that's, like you said, it's all inside the box with you. You can still not see it. You can still not see it, feel it, if you're, like running really hard or whatever, but,
and the box is your own creation as well.
Well, yes, ultimately.
You constructed it.
Yes, ultimately. That's why it feels like to me like there's so many yes, and that's true too, and yes, and that's true too. And you might think that, well, how can all of these things, yes, some of them are completely opposite from each other, but how can they be? Well, because of the multidimensionality of who and what we are, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
That
because
is
it's a toroidal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're, the truth of who you are is in the center of it, it's actually, and it's toroidal, which means that it's all part of everything, that it's always coming around. It's always there, always there, always there. Some may be a little closer, some may be a little further away, some may be a little more focused, some may be a little more, maybe you could say out of focus or wider aperture, but it's all there. So all of that is always there and can be there in any moment.
Right.
Remember the quantum shower where, that event horizon, and you could see, you could look, and wherever you focused, you took yourself there, or you could say you brought it to you, depending again how you were feeling that experience that you were doing. And that's what we're doing now. We're just noticing, or not. Maybe, and here's maybe a fun thing to play with. You could say, well, we're noticing it, and so Sheila says, oh, this is cool, I'm doing this cool stuff, and someone else says, well, I don't notice anything. Well, in the not noticing anything, that's your noticing. So what's in there to play with, and why is that you're having it that close that you can't seeing anything? And is there stuff that you absolutely wanted to make sure that you saw, that what you're labeling as nothing right this moment, to move through? Because it's all data. and absolute data is being revealed. Absolutely.
In every moment of now, too.
Yeah.
For me, I'm
Every
just thinking, yeah, that's there's great gobs of data in simply sitting and noticing where your thoughts are at the moment that the breeze picks up. That is how subtle and loaded all of the communication with,
everything.
yeah, well, yes, I was going to say with source, with me, with the portion of me that's getting my attention. There's, uh, messages from myself to myself are everywhere in every moment of now, and it comes in. And I think this is true for all of us. It's just a matter of tuning it in. It comes in at a pace that sometimes is so dizzying, and a lot can be missed. And so, I'm just once coming to the comprehension that every part of us, our physicality, our energetic field, what we think, how we see things, how we feel things against our skin, all of it is bringing messages of all kinds. And for me, they're from myself to myself, or source, or however one wants to hold that, but it's all there. Bringing not just the data or the information of the crumbling, but what is also, because it's also bringing as long as I hold it with an open hand, as I'm watching it come in and go out or whatever, I feel the potentiality and the possibility, and the all of that is like, I finally, I think at one point today, I found, now I get why I was jumping straight to the fantastical all the time, because that's what this is going to be. Actually, it doesn't even say. Yeah, I know. I can't even say the sky's the limit, because that's a box. And so, yeah. Whew. Sorry, I'm really very dizzy at the moment.
So for the orchestra that came up with questions on that, how is a deep breath? How is relaxing? How is trusting? How is dropping from your heart? How is remembering to feel again on all things? How is knowing, just knowing, even if you don't cognize the knowing, that you don't have to Jones for the treat that's being handed out, because your abundance is absolutely unlimited. And at this moment, if you're snoozing or you're gazing or you're working or whatever it is, and you hear stuff going on, you don't have to worry about it, because you know that it'll be brought to you, or you'll know where to go, or whatever it is. And there is such pleasure and such joy and such simplicity in the complexity of all that is being unfolded for each of us. We're not missing anything. And we don't have to get head up about anything. And the moment that the thought comes in, but just, those little dandelion puffs, just go and watch it dance away. And when something else comes in, you go, oh, I see. Do the same thing. Because as soon as you hold on to the but or I see, you're back in the thinking again. You're back in the I gotta hold it. I gotta put this box around it so it doesn't get away, so I don't forget what it is. And on the one hand, you're fussing that I don't have the list, the steps, the what if I forget or how do I do it? And on the other hand, you have all of the parts and pieces, the connectors and the joiners, and all of the parts that are seen and unseen, physical and etheric, tangible and not even formulated into possibility yet. All laid out on the table, all laid out on the floor around you. And it's the most wonderful discovery when you realize that there are no instructions and there aren't any needed because you wrote the book, you built the thing, you took it apart, and you gave it to yourself as the most amazing gift to play with. And when you can feel into that space, even at the edges of that space, like 100 million light years away at the edges of that space, you notice something. You can't grok it. You can't kind of grab onto it. But you notice that there is something there. And when you feel into it, and when you just let it go, look out the window or take another breath, it's starting to make sense. Not from some way you can repeat back to someone, or you can explain to someone else, or answer the question, what is it? What'd you get? Kind of thing. It's nebulous from one perspective, and it is the totality of all potentiality, all possibility, and absolute data right at your fingertips. And that's the it that we all, knowing and unknowing, realizing some of the time or none of the time, that we're all grabbing for. And what we forgot to behold in that grabbing is those fingertips. And they connect us to the energy of all of that. And we can materialize it. We can bring it into matter when we are open to doing that. Because heretofore we didn't realize it. We control the strings. We control that.
I think that might be why, for me, the terminology unfettered access, that's what that means for me, is my, has nothing to do with the money, by the way, for me. Got nothing to do with the money.
Mm-hmm.
Unfettered access is unfettered access to all of me and all of what I am capable of and what I have been feeling into as to what I'm capable of makes unfettered access look pretty pale, gotta say. Looking pretty pale. I would not, for what is being described as unfettered access. That's why I feel like this is a metaphor, because and maybe there's so much coming in all at once in regards to this, so I'm not sure.
I'm just going to put in quickly, it's a metaphor and a tangible reality all in the same moment.
Right.
Because when you step beyond the unfettered access, if money is something that you wanted to create, hey, no problem.
Right.
So it begets anything and all things. It's the two people. One's got the Brinks truck, and the other, they're sitting right next to you. I mean, you could feel the exhaust from the truck on your leg. That's how close it is. But if you're in the box, you can't. And the box is a self-imposed box. And we're waking up to that.
You are the unfettered access.
Right, exactly. And I know that this is gonna for me, I feel very well, even if it's not exactly this way, it helps me visualize it.
Okay.
And the two of you have helped me greatly with this in regards to why it's so important to drop into the heart. Because when it comes to not manifestation, but materialization,
Mm-hmm.
that's where that's going to come from, is through the heart. And for me, I see it at this moment as a matter of focus and attention, being in the proper, place, being right smack in the heart, and knowing that's where it's coming from. And because I go back to the information in regards to Nassim Haramein, and it's a puzzle piece for me, whether it is or not. It just is a puzzle piece for me. The idea that there is, he calls it a black hole in between the two chambers of the heart, the upper and the lower, and that I feel that's where we emanate from and creates everything. And yeah, for me, I didn't realize when we were first going, when I was first becoming acquainted with all the material that was going, that Heather's material, with you, VC, Lisa has been following this for quite some time. I didn't quite comprehend all of that as it was. All I could feel at the time was I felt that it had nothing to do with the money. I always felt that. I wasn't quite clear as to exactly, but now it's so strong. It's so strong that is how we're going to, that's how creation happens. That's how it happens.
So I just was checking a date on something here. especially there was a couple of things that you said in there in describing that was so non-linear and well, spot on from my perspective. But what kind of flowed out of that were pages in a book. And I was flipping back to the beginning of the book. Well, from an on-camera perspective. In the manual that had been created. And on this channel. So the manual, produced by Conscious Conversation Center. And it was November 8th, 2017. And the manual could be called Going Quantum, because that was actually the title that was on the video. And if you look back, here is a video manual. Even if you turn the sound off and just watched the being, it's a pictorial metaphor in the energy frequency, because even if you have no idea how to read someone's energy frequency, it's unmistakable. So if I showed this conversation to the being who wrote the manual that I'm speaking of on November 8th, 2017, probably at approximately 6 o'clock Pacific time, she wouldn't have gotten it. She wouldn't have understood it. She would have said, who the hell's that?
True that.
So let's see, it's September 17th. So was that about 10 months? According to the way YouTube charts this, 10 months ago. It's not quite accurate, but I'd say that's a pretty dramatic timeline jump in a 10-month span.
Oh, yeah, well, I feel like yet and again another different iteration of myself.
Right. And the energies were much slower and denser, even though they had jumped up a lot back then. Of course, I could say the same phrase with that in the last week. So doesn't it can happen in a nanosecond. Doesn't need 10 months at all. What it does require is the commitment to open the heart and choose it for yourself, not anybody else.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, in regards to opening the heart, this is going to sound silly probably to you too, but I still don't know how one does that opening and dropping down into. It's not like, because it's a...
Go back and watch the videos. It's
I guess
all captured on tape.
You know that Sheila really don't go back and watch her videos very often. So
Well,
I wrote it down. I will go to. Listen, there's a reason for that.
I think it'd be gobsmacking.
Really? Okay. Well, I would do that. Going quantum. I remember the title. Okay. Awesome. Well, I will do that. But I guess I wanted to add that part about knowing, or making the commitment to getting into the heart. Because when I first started hearing you guys talk about that, I didn't get it, and I get it now, but I can't explain it, and I can't pull it from the quantum into the linear. Perhaps one of the two of you can.
You're on camera. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. So I'll tell you what I'll do. Okay, I'm gonna link that video
there you go.
for anyone that hasn't seen it, because that has been quite some time ago, and I'll link that video so that it comes up right after this one.
And the irony, I think, just looking back in a linear perspective of that.
Okay, I can't hear you all.
Yeah, I know, struggling.
I think for me, the irony of that particular video from a linear perspective is that your it was an open-ended intention, but your intention with the video was on the way that you've been doing your other conscious conversation videos, and that you were conversing / interviewing / having me on, and you would get to me and this, that, and the other thing, right? So, on the way, kind of in the format, in the way that the show was run there. And I think the irony that's deliciously cosmic humor in that is that most of the conversation was from you. And most of the getting to know was of you, getting to know you on that.
Oh wow! Now this will be
just
fun.
Glimpses of it.
Okay, this will be fun to go back and watch.
And there were some moments at the end where well, certainly off camera, was like, you were like, well, it didn't go how I planned, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, it actually went exactly how you planned, but not the you that's sitting in the chair.
Yes, I think I set up some pretty cosmically delicious experiences this go round for myself, because this has been one heck of a go, I'll say.
And if people don't remember or haven't watched the stuff in between, that may be harder. But from my perspective, that's a really good metaphor, this for how we do this. What's next? What do we want to play with? What do we see as next? Now that we can see what's down there, and we're letting go of that. And yeah, this was, you said, in some large measure part 2, so there'll be part 3, because we don't want to limit our magic wands in how we're doing things. And for ourselves, each individual one of us, until we play with and see, kind of the crud and the stuff and the oil and the grease and the seemingly broken pieces that are attached to our magic wands, right? Which is what part 1 and part 2 have been about. We can't, take out the Shazamness of the magic wand to create what we want. So think of, if your pen, if you had a quill or something and the ink is kind of clogged and the ink is, well, have you ever read, oh gosh, his name is coming right out of my, on the Magic Crayon. God, I can't remember his name. Anyways, there's a wonderful book, Harold and the Magic Crayon. Fabulous book. It's gunked up. The ink is gunked up. The crayon is gunked up. And your crayon, your magic crayon, creates whatever you choose in all its deliciousness. But if you can't get past those blocks you've put in there. So this is, the fantastical. This is what's next. This is how we do this. And this is a really good time to play with this because there's, whether you've seen it or not yet, there's stuff crumbling down all over the place. There's dust, everywhere. And like I said, there's a brilliant gift in that dust because it's refracting the light, and there's so much light. It's refracting the light in so many different ways that you can just catch the sparkles of it and go off and play with that and create with that. So if it moves you to stay with it or to play with it in your own way, even just bits and pieces of one or part 1 or whatever it is, part 2, however you are, there's a reason that you are guiding yourself to do that. And you, because it's only you are creating cool tools for yourself that you're giving to yourself, and it just looks like a video from 3 other people. So play with that. And if it's I still don't notice anything, there's stuff in that seemingly not noticing. There was a video that Sheila talked about, well, I've got nothing. Well, that's the same kind of a thing. So what's in that? Play with, look at, notice, feel into, just breathe into, sit with, be subject to one another. The I don't see anything. And in that relationship that blooms and opens up, you will see vast amounts of things that reveal themselves. It'll be different for each being who, if there's 10 people who have that same thing, it'll be different for each one on purpose.
But yeah, I don't think that's one of the things that I think that eventually we'll all come to feel and know for ourselves that is by design, because that is the one thing that it is the only thing actually that separates us, and that is the experiences that we've had in this physical incarnation and the thoughts and the feelings that we carry from those they're informing everything right now. Now there's other parts of that are coming in if we listen, if we open up to receiving those parts and that information. That's where for me that can feel that absolute data that you've spoken of before, that's coming into well, it's either coming in or I'm pulling it in, and well, no, it's not or, it's and. It's coming in and I'm pulling it in and it's presenting and it's unfolding. And so it's all of those things because it's on all those different multidimensional levels because there's so many dimensions of me. And it's the open-handed, just being open, allowing them to flow freely in, through, around, you know, all of me. That helps to inform me of the things that are coming in and that I'm calling forth. It's another term that you've used quite a bit that I now can very clearly feel. But it is those experiences that we have each individually had that colors all of these things. And so as we allow ourselves the freedom of sitting with any of that stuff, even if you're, like you were saying, well, I don't get it. Well, just sit with it for a little bit longer. It's, you know, again, I was comparing myself to like the two of you and other folks. And that's the other thing that we are taught to do that's wrong, that doesn't serve us in any way, because we're all individual, unique because of those experiences. So they're going to come in at different times and feel completely different to, like, you know, me than it will to, say, Lisa, because of the differences in how we've grown up and the differences in how the different, maybe some of the programming is kind of sort of the same, but it's also not, in that it's going to be her experience as to how she experienced any other myriad of things that I may have experienced, but in a different way as well. And
she's multidimensional.
Right. As are all of us.
Yeah, but it's less confusing if just one of you is multidimensional for a minute.
Well, I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm there. It's like coming in and going out so fast. I'm just going to be quiet for a few minutes.
Well, and I have to speak up on the being quiet. I have noticed the in the silence are all the answers. It's like there aren't even questions, really. Getting deep into just the essence of who I am, that's where everything is. And I have really only recently spent enough time there to get acquainted, because I was really focused on talking a lot. I really had quite an issue. Ask anybody that knew me from kindergarten on, and they will tell you that I talk too much. Although a lot of times people think now I don't talk enough. So I'm sure that there's a medium, a nice place. But I just wanted to speak on that because there is value in the silence. Because it feels like that's the authentic me, that silence. And the more that I commune with that, the more I bring that part of me into my conversations. Whereas before I was kind of one or the other. So I just wanted to bring that.
Well, I love that. I have had trouble with the silence.
Yeah, I did too. I was afraid of it, quite terrified, actually. I did not want to spend time alone, not even in my own head. But the more that I did that, the more that I realized I'm not alone. Which is kind of funny, really, when you think about sitting alone and being silent and feeling the less alone that I've ever felt. I didn't anticipate that. But that's the reality of it. I feel most whole and complete in my center. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Talking about this when we have our conversations. It's the most talking that I do, because most of the time I'm just quiet. I don't say anything,
Yeah.
even if there's a bunch of people around and this, that, and the other thing. So it's interesting how that time to be probably is the best way to describe it.
Yes.
Show in different ways. Now you can transmit volumes in silence.
Say that last part again, BZ, because
you can transmit volumes in silence.
Mm-hmm.
And transmitting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if I was to do a ratio, because I was just listening to the way that you guys were describing, if I was to do a ratio of let's say in a given week, if we just had one of these in a week,
Mm-hmm.
this would be 90% talking. Of the talking in a week, 90%
Right.
would be involved here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm the odd man out in this group because I talk constantly. I always have. And now my head, even in trying to meditate, Lisa was saying, that when she's alone, she's not alone. Very rarely can I get what I've had to do is just allow whatever to, the thoughts flow in and they flow out. That's the only way I've been able to do this, is to allow it
Yes.
to do that and just kind of
Notice them.
Yeah, just notice them, because I don't know. That's the only way I could do it.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
well, is there anything else that either one of you would like to add to this one, or how are you feeling about this one? Because I am dizzy AF and
yeah, it feels complete to me.
Okay.
It's
Awesome.
been wonderful.
Yes. Well,
this is how we do this.
Yeah.
This is how we do this. So we will have all the usual things in all the usual places. And I guess we'll just talk to you guys next time.
Much love.